A couple of months ago, I made a video talking about switching over to DJI for my video system for my drone. And as part of that, I decided that I was going to ditch my trusty Taranis of 8 years in favor of the DJI Remote Controller 2. And I got a lot of hate for that. Now, I don't mean hate in a bad way. They were actually concerned that I was going to have bad performance, I was going to lose my drone, all those sorts of things. They were like, don't do it, man. The latency is going to be awful. You're going to lose your drone. It's going to drop out of the sky. And that's just awful. But those things didn't happen. Well, sort of didn't happen. Okay, so my drone didn't fall out of the sky. Well, actually, it fell out of the sky once. But I chalked that up to just a little bit of interference that happened because I've had that happen with my Crossfire setup. I had that happen with my FrSky setup. I've had that happen with pretty much every setup I've ever had. You always have those anomalies where that happens. But really bad falling out of the sky, you know, way out, away from me, didn't happen. But latency did happen. So yeah, there was latency in the system, but I didn't notice the latency. I was flying HD0 and analog for so long. When I switched to DJI, I just assumed that the latency was because of the video link and not from the control link. Now, several years prior to this, I had switched from S-Bus to Crossfire, and I really didn't notice the difference between S-Bus and Crossfire. I was told that it was better, and I had a much better signal, and everything felt good, but I really didn't notice the difference between S-Bus and Crossfire until this time when I switched back from S-Bus to Crossfire. Everything else being equal that I had been flying, I noticed a huge difference in the latency. The latency wasn't the main driving factor for me to switch back from the Controller 2 to my trusty Taranis. I was adjusting to the latency just fine, and I was adjusting my style. I was flying the cruising and stuff, but in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I still want to do some freestyle. I still want to do some flippy floppies. So I was trying to do the flippy floppies and all that kind of stuff, but I just could not get that down. And the problem was thumbing versus pinching. So I've been flying with pinching for so long now. Switching to thumbs is not an easy task. But I had flown a few times since using pinching with thumbs, and I was like, I can adjust to this. It's just another way of flying. Can't be that big a deal. Surely I can adjust to that. Well, I was finding that I was not able to do the flippy floppies like I wanted to. Stuff just didn't feel right. I kept trying, and it just felt like I was going to crash every time I was rolling over and I was upside down. And I just could not do it. I tried switching the sticks around. I tried holding the controller slightly different ways. I tried changing the type of sticks that I was using to longer ones, to shorter ones, to, you know, everything in between. And I just could not get adjusted to thumbing. I could fly thumbing, cruising around and doing proximity cruising, but I could not get myself adjusted to doing the flippy floppies with thumbs. And, you know, I was okay with that. I had kind of even resigned myself to like, sure, I'm good with cruising. I like cruising. It's fun. That'll be the new me. I don't have to worry about breaking stuff. But man, the itch to do the flippy floppies just kept eating at me, kept eating at me. But that was not the deciding factor to get me to switch back from the Controller 2 to the Taranis. So what was the deciding factor to get me to switch back from the DJI Remote Controller 2 back to my trusty Taranis? Well, it has to do with breaking antennas and then the results of those antennas being broke. So like I said, I was still adjusting to the latency, crashing, you know, you crash a lot. And in a couple of those crashes, I broke antennas. So I broke the antenna off. Well, in one of those crashes, just one of the wires coming to the UFL broke, and basically the wire ripped out of the UFL connector on one of them. Replaced the antenna, everything was good. I crashed again. This time I broke both antenna wires, like both of them got pulled out of the UFL connectors. And I thought, okay, no big deal, just replace it, it'll be fine again. Replaced it, and I was still getting bad RX from Betaflight. So that means one of two things. Either the S-Bus port on the flight controller is messed up, or the air unit is messed up with the transmitter because the antenna being disconnected and it transmitting it fried it or something. One of those two things. So I thought to myself, I have a couple of options. I can buy another air unit, try that. May still have the same problem. If that's the case, then it's the flight controller, and then I've got to purchase a flight controller, or I can just purchase another flight controller, hook that up, go that route, and try that. In both those cases, that require me to spend more money that I did not want to spend, that I really don't have to spend. You know, budgets are tight, economics is pretty crappy, the economy's in the toilet here lately. So I was like, well, I do have a good Crossfire receiver with a brand new antenna, and I've still got my Taranis. Let me just hook all that stuff up and go that route. So that's what I did, hooked all of that stuff up, and lo and behold, when I went to fly the thing, I could pinch again, of course, because I could hold that controller the right way to pinch. Now I could pinch the controller too, but it just never felt right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's where I'm so used to a bigger controller, having a smaller controller. It just didn't feel right. Maybe it is the arming mechanism not being an actual switch and being like a little push button. I don't know. Whatever it was, I could not get comfortable pinching on the controller too, like I was on the Taranis. Maybe it's just because I've been using the Taranis for so long. I don't know. Anyway, so I was back to pinching, and the flying, so pinching felt great, and then all of a sudden I noticed I did not have the latency feel that I had been feeling before. And I was like, it's been the control link this whole time. It's not been the video link. It's been the control link that's been throwing me off. I was like, well, let's make it even better then. Like, it felt really good. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try something now, because before it didn't feel right. Didn't really notice much difference when I was doing 60 FPS versus 100 FPS. Didn't really notice too much. Noticed a little bit of an improvement with 100 FPS, but I think the control link was holding me back. So I put it on 100 FPS, and with the Taranis and 100 FPS, I was like, holy cow, this feels like my old systems. You know, I know it's got more latency. I know that because I've seen the proof of the latency there, but the feel, it felt so much better. So I am back to using my Taranis, back to using Crossfire, and I'm not going to go back to the controller 2. I've got it up on my Mercari. If you want it, I'll put a link down in the description. You can go hit up, good price, $100. Basically like new, it's been used a couple months, but you know, you've got gimbal protection, extra set of gimbals, you know, extra set of, not gimbals, but the sticks. You know, basically like new. So if you want it for your Avata or something else, you know, or you just want to get one because, you know, you want to try it out, cheap, $100, you know. I'll put a link down in the description. You can do that. So basically, summary, I could not get used to thumbing over pinching. The latency was there even though I didn't realize it. And then I either broke the FC or the air unit, the transmission part of it. I have no idea which one. It's working fine as far as video goes with the air unit, so I'm guessing it's probably the flight controller, but it could be the air unit. I don't know. Anybody else got any, you know, knowledge on that? Maybe you can tell me. I don't know. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to use it. You know, I just disconnected the wire off there. I'm not going to do that anymore. So there you go. I'm back to Taranis. I'm back to Crossfire. I'm back to having some proximity in my flying. So if you guys were missing the proximity flippy floppies, that's coming back now. And I'm still going to be cruising and stuff too. I'm going to have the cruising and the flipping floppy just like before, back in the old days. So I hope you guys enjoy that. No flying today. Hope you guys have a good one. Remember, never stop flying, and I will see you guys in the next video.